Today is Wednesday, October 16th, also known as Trash and Recycling Day in Swannanoa, and this is your community briefing. I was out at the Owen Pool site early this morning, and I can confirm that Waste Pro is there to collect household bag trash until 3:30 p.m. today. At today's briefing, we'll be joined by Holly Jordan with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension and our friends from the city of Asheville, who must have heard the cheers coming up from West Asheville residents yesterday as water started flowing out of the taps there. So first, I will turn this over to Buncombe County Manager Avril Pinter.
Thanks, Helene. Good morning. At our regular meeting last night, the Board of Commissioners of Buncombe County approved a resolution to delay the 2025 property reappraisal until January 1 of 2026. At this time, it is unknown how market values across the county will be impacted by the severity of damage to real estate and personal property. The property assessment team is in the data collection and analysis phase and will be spending the remainder of the year working diligently to ensure damaged properties, whether real estate or personal, are assessed as accurately and as equitably as possible. Urban Search and Rescue, or what we call USAR, the teams are continuing their work in Buncombe County. If you need to report a missing loved one and you're in the Asheville city limits, please call APD, Asheville Police Department, at 828-252-1110. Again, in the city limits, to report a missing person, call APD at 828-252-1110. If you're in the county, call the non-emergency line at 828-250-6670 to start that report. Again, in the county is 828-250-6670. As always, for urgent or emergency situations, please call 911. Early voting starts tomorrow. You can get an ID from the elections office during early voting. It only takes 10 minutes. All week, you can vote anytime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. at one of our early voting sites. The early voting sites are Black Mountain Library, East Asheville Library, Inca Candler Library, Fairview Library, Lester Community Center, that is located at 2979 New Lester Highway, South Buncombe Library, UNCA Health and Counseling Center, that is 118 W.T. Weaverville Boulevard, Weaverville Community Center at 60 Lakeshore Drive, Dr. Wesley Grant Southside Center at 285 Livingston Street, and the West Asheville Library, 924 Haywood Road. A power update from Duke. As of this morning, there's 2,040 customers remaining without power in Buncombe County. Some homes may get power and then lose it. If this happens, text OUT, O-U-T, to 57801. Again, the word to text is OUT, and the number to text is 57801. You can also report it online by going to duke-energy.com/outages. So duke-energy.com/outages. Or you can call 800 Power On. That is 800-769-3766. Unfortunately, Spectrum experienced a major cut to an underground fiber line in Marion last night that was helping to connect customers in this region. So as of this morning, 31,500 customers remain offline. The crews are out and working on repairs. Many residents and businesses are turning to open burning as a means of disposal. But as our region dries out, our fire chiefs and our Asheville Buncombe Air Quality Agency urge community members not to burn. Storm debris collection is beginning, so please use the collection services that are offered. Today, debris collection trucks will be in Swannanoa, Barnersville, and outside of Woodfin. In addition to the risk of fire, smoke can cause serious health problems and pollute the air. For storm debris that is being gathered with the intentions of conducting open burning, including the use of air curtain burners, permission is required by the actual Buncombe Air Quality Agency, and there are certain requirements that must be met. Please contact the Air Quality Agency at 828-250-6777. Again, that is 828-250-6777. Or you can email airquality@buncombecounty.org. That is airquality, one word, @buncombecounty.org. Further details about these requirements can be found at airquality.org. Under no circumstances should anyone burn synthetic materials or trash at any time. If you determine that you absolutely must burn, our fire marshals share this guidance. Keep debris piles small, 3 feet if possible. Do not ever leave a fire unattended. Don't ever leave a fire unattended. Have a method of extinguishment, which could be water, dirt, or sand, or motorized equipment, or a fire extinguisher. Keep all burned areas clear of any combustible debris or vegetation. Maintain a 25 feet or greater distance from structures and all wooded areas. We have increased this requirement from 15 feet. We were sharing 15 feet before, but because of our dry and low humidity conditions, we're increasing that to 25 feet. So keep 25 feet or greater distance from structures or all wooded areas. The last thing we want is to hinder your recovery process at and around your homes and businesses. But with the change in the forecast from Friday to Saturday, an open burning ban could become necessary. So please be safe. And remember that burning debris is never allowed in the city of Asheville or our municipal jurisdictions. Tomorrow, the area will experience extremely low temperatures. Our shelters have space and they're available at AB Tech Conference Center, 16 Fernahurst Drive, the former Gold's Gym, 1815 Hendersonville Road. This location has a playground for children, so it may be more suitable for families. But please note that no pets are allowed at the former Gold's Gym location. The medical emergency shelter for individuals who are dependent on medical equipment that requires electricity is located at 10 Genevieve Circle. That's on the AB Tech campus. And lastly, WNC Ag Center at 1301 Fannin Bridge Road. This is a great option for families with pets. Evelyn Charities is open Monday through Friday from 11 to 1, and they're located at 23 Hamilton Street in Asheville, and they're providing gasoline vouchers, warm winter clothing, and other essential items such as hygiene and cleaning supplies, menstrual products, diapers, etc., during the hours of 11 to 1. We're continuing to help our neighbors with rent and mortgage assistance, medical needs, and other essential items. So you can go to Evelyn if you need help for rent, mortgage assistance, medical needs, or some cleaning supplies. Again, they're located at 23 Hamilton in Wilmington in Asheville, 23 Hamilton Street in Asheville, open from 11 to 1. Goodwill is accepting clothing donations and providing vouchers for those in need. Bounty and Soul is also accepting donations of warm clothing and blankets. Financial donations can be made to the United Way of Asheville and Buncombe County by going to their website, unitedwayabc.org. People impacted by Hurricane Helene can apply to receive a one-time benefit to help buy food through the Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. To apply, visit epass.nc.gov. That is epass, EPASS.nc.gov, or call 844-453-1113. That number again is 844-453-1117. And now we'll be joined by Holly Jordan from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension. Thank you.
Thank you, Avril. I was asked to join to provide an update on what our extension is doing here in Buncombe County. And so I wanted to give a little overview of who we are and what we do. Buncombe County Extension is part of Buncombe County's Ag and Land Resources Department, and we are a partnership between Buncombe County, NC University, and NC State University. And our role is to bring education and the research from the universities out to the communities. So we are an educational program. We are a small but mighty team of 10, and we are housed right here in Buncombe County. So you can call us if you have questions about anything, and we can help get answers to that. Our pre-storm programs and what we typically focus on is work with small and urban farms related to fruit and vegetable crops, ornamental plant nurseries, specialty crops, and livestock. We also coordinate the Buncombe County 4-H Youth Program. We work with the Extension Master Gardeners on home gardening programs. We also work with commercial landscape companies and pesticide education, along with the general community on nutrition, food preservation, and home health. Extension is located in every county across the country. So we have a huge network of support, and we have had an outpouring of people from all parts of the country, Oregon, California, Indiana, Pennsylvania, wanting to lend their support to our region through donations, volunteering, and also just supporting our youth here because they've been impacted immensely as well. So we have been working with leadership at NC State University to create some hubs and for the university to coordinate some of those donation centers that then can get moved here to Western North Carolina. And not just Buncombe County, but our partners in Haywood, Henderson, Mitchell, Yancey, Avery, Watauga. So there's been an immense amount of support coming. A lot of that is in the forms of hay and livestock feed, fencing materials, and also human needs as well. So when the storm first happened, our immediate response was we reached out to all of our clientele. That's our 4-H families, our Master Gardener volunteers, partner organizations that we worked with just to check on their status, and also the farmers we work with to check on their status and their immediate needs that they had. We also, our staff ended up working at distribution sites, delivering food and water, and also taking that out to some of those harder hit communities that couldn't get to the distribution sites as well. Two of our staff members actually live up in Barnardsville, so they were instrumental in helping to establish the Barnardsville pod at the Big Ivy Community Center, and then a supplemental site at the Dillingham Presbyterian Church. And so our staff has been up there taking donations to those locations, as well as Fairview and the Garin Creek area. And we had a big delivery from NC State University that was collected there that we got to some locations in that Garin Creek area and Fairview as well. We've also been working with those community centers and donation centers to take supplies at locations that have an overabundance of materials and getting those to some of those areas that don't. And what we're seeing now is we've got some supplies that are going to be needed up in that Mitchell and Yancey counties. And so we're going to work with our partners at the extension offices up there to get supplies to them as well. So once the human immediate needs were being taken care of, we started to work in our program areas. And that is Abby Whitaker, our livestock agent, was really involved with the Western North Carolina Regional Livestock Center in Canton to help identify immediate needs for hay and livestock feed and equipment. And she worked with people in the community and her clientele to identify drop-off points. And some of those drop-off points for supplies were able to be driven in, while some of them we worked with the National Guard and military assistance to get airdrops to those hard hit areas. We have been assisting farmers with applying for disaster grants through WNC Communities and ASAP and other organizations. We are working with researchers at the universities and our partner organizations to work on recommendations for removing toxins that were likely deposited on crops and pastures during the flood. We're reaching out to our Spanish language farming community also to make sure that their needs are met and not forgotten. We're connecting people through Facebook and websites and personal contacts to inform the public on extension and health department recommendations for cleaning your house after a flood, dealing with appliances after a storm, and then especially refrigerators and freezers. We're having lots of questions about that, as well as safety of food, canned food, home canned food versus commercially canned food safety as well. We are working on establishing information tables out in hard-hit communities where we can share that information along with PPE materials and information, again, for farmers related to financial support for them. We continue to resource supplies for farmers, including fencing supplies, cover crop seed, and we're going to be working on hay supplies for the long term. That is going to be a need that we are, I don't know when the end is in sight for that, but we're going to need hay for a long time. And our 4-H program is also working to establish kid corner events at locations where we can just have a fun activity for them to de-stress and have a little fun, a little bit of normalcy. So if anyone is interested in reaching out to our 4-H program to do that, please by all means contact us. Our master gardeners are sharing information on storm and flood damage to gardens and landscapes and recommendations for that. And we've also helped to deliver some water tanks to several of our growers whose water supply infrastructure was destroyed. And so we're really proud about those accomplishments. I did want to note that our office is closed to the public, but we encourage anyone with questions to reach out to our office, and that number is 828-255-5522, or through emails, which can be found on our website. And our website is buncombe.ces.ncsu.edu. And you can also find us on Facebook at NC Cooperative Extension, Buncombe County. And the final thing that I would like to share is that we know that a disaster like this can be very taxing on a person's emotional and mental health. And for any of our farmers out there, we hear you, we feel you, and we see what you're dealing with. And if you are feeling pressured, if you are feeling stressed and you need to talk to someone, the North Carolina Farm Hotline is open 24/7. And we would encourage you to call and talk to someone. And that number is 844-325-3276. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Holly. And Holly's going to stay on the line in case there are questions when we wrap up. And next, we will turn things to City of Asheville Manager Deborah Campbell.
Thank you, Lillian, and good morning. As stated, my name is Deborah Campbell, and I serve as the City Manager for Asheville. As usual, I want to start by thanking everyone in the community for your continued support to help our community recover from this devastating storm. Today is day 21 of our response and recovery efforts. A lot of progress has been made this week, especially related to restoring water service. We've added a new community care station, and we are seeing businesses reopen. Things are improving, but as you all know, there is a lot of work to be done. But we can and we will recover and be a much stronger and resilient community. As we've moved through recovery efforts, particularly as it relates to the city of Asheville, Our attention has been primarily focused on 3 areas: addressing the basic needs of our community with the focus on our most vulnerable populations, as well as the broader community, restoring water service and community safety. And as I mentioned on Monday, we added a 4th priority area related to debris removal and management. Also, as we did on Monday, we will start with updates on our water restoration efforts that will be presented by Assistant City Manager Ben Woody and our Water Resources Department Public Information Officer, Clay Chandler. I will come back up and close it out with a few updates on our water and meal distribution and debris removal and management efforts. I will now turn it over to Assistant City Manager Ben Woody.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Good morning, Assistant City Manager Ben Woody. I'm going to make a few remarks today, then turn it over to Clay Chandler, our Public Information Officer for the Water Department. He will provide the regular update on the water system restoration. So, as Ms. Campbell said, today marks day 21 since the City of Asheville activated our Emergency Operations Center on September 25th, prior to the arrival of Hurricane Helene. And I have good news. We still have a lot of work to do, but as of this morning, our Water Resources Department has substantially restored non-potable water to our water distribution system. And they've done this under the most difficult circumstances. While not everyone has returned to water service yet, and there's still much work to do to be completed before we can have full restoration, our crews have made tremendous progress. And so what I want to do today is I want to recognize and thank our Public Works Department and our partners at the North Carolina Department of Transportation. They began removing debris and repairing roads as soon as it was safe to do so. This initial work allowed our Water Resources Department and their contractors to begin assessing and making repairs to the water system. I also want to thank our local contractors, T&K Utilities, Tanoka, TP Howard, and Ed Holmes Surveying. They have been instrumental in making repairs to our primary east-west distribution lines and our 36-inch bypass line. They were able to begin work on September 30th and substantially completed these critical repairs by the early morning of October 10th. And that is a truly remarkable accomplishment by these contractors. And I want to thank our Water Resources Department for their tireless efforts to restore the Asheville water system. We still have a lot of work to do before we can get to full restoration, and Clay Chandler is going to discuss that today. But we would not be in the position we are today without the around-the-clock efforts of our entire Water Resources Department and those employees who have spent the past 3 weeks working night and day to get us to this important point. And finally, I want to thank our community for your patience and resilience through what has to have been the most difficult circumstances for you as well. And I've had this opportunity throughout this event. I've really been able to not only see the best in my coworkers as we've worked through this, but I think I've also seen the best in our community during these really difficult times. And while we continue to reach milestones every day, it's important to remember that there is still much work to be done to not only restore our water system, but to restore our city. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Clay Chandler for today's water system update.
Thank you, Ben. All right. So what we're looking at here is an approximate map, a map that shows the approximate areas that have service. As of yesterday, North Asheville and West Asheville began receiving water. These were sort of the last of what we call our target areas that didn't have at least some degree of water service. Now, obviously, that service will expand as system pressurizes and tanks fill and pump stations start operating. And so while that map looks pretty full, it is not meant to denote that every single person in that service area has service. That is meant to represent that substantial service has returned to those areas. And I'll talk about a couple of examples where service has not returned yet, that it might be a little bit of a lengthy process before it does. So this is the Eastmoor area. In the area, Old Farm School Road, I think it is. And this was the damage on October the 15th. And so what'll happen there is that area was served by a single 6-inch line that Helene completely washed out and that crossed the Swannanoa River. And so that line is going to be repaired by our partners at TP Howard, and they should begin to arrive on the site today to begin clearing all that underbrush and all the debris that you can see there. And while that's happening, a temporary pipe will be put in place to give the roughly 75 or so homes that pipe serves some reduced water pressure. I think the temporary pipe is going to be a 2-inch line. And so pressure will be lower there than it normally is. And that neighborhood experiences a little bit of an elevation change. And so obviously air at homes in the lower part of that neighborhood will get service back before homes in the elevated parts do. And it's important that as the homes in the lower elevations receive service, that they conserve water as much as they can, go through your normal flushing routines to deal with the sediment and all of that, but conserve as much as you can to help your neighbors up the hill. See, that is Eastmoor. There's the video. So this video is going to show some pretty striking images. That's the Swannanoa River as it appears now. That's where the river was before the storm. And that's where the new line will be laid. And so obviously you can see TP Howard contractors are going to have to do some river redirection to create dry work areas while they make that pretty complex repair. Let me go back just one. So while that video loops, I do want to tell you a little bit about our Bee Tree area. So there's still some areas in the Bee Tree that's served by our Bee Tree Junction box that obviously received some severe damage. Again, we're talking about an area that's served by a single line, 40-ish homes in that Bee Tree area that still don't have water. The water line that serves that area is intact. That's the good news. And our water resources crews have to do some backfilling on that line before it can handle water pressure just for stabilization purposes. That backfilling should be complete by late today or early tomorrow. Now, here's probably the best news of the day. That is at North Fork at our water treatment plant there on October the 15th. And what our watershed superintendent, Jerry, who's on the cherry picker, is taken off of that trailer is the aluminum sulfate that we're going to use for the in reservoir treatment process there, that we hope will reduce the turbidity. Again, that lake was flipped completely upside down by Helene, meaning the sediment on the bottom came all the way to the top and turned what is normally crystal clear, pristine water into something that strongly resembled chocolate milk. So that aluminum sulfate is a salt-ish mineral that we use in our normal treatment processes. It will act as a coagulant to take the millions of and probably billions of clay particles that are suspended in the reservoir, clump them together, make them heavy enough to sink. They'll sink to the bottom, and in the process, that water will clear up from the top down. And that is the caustic soda that will be used in that in-lake treatment process as well. Again, something we use normally under normal circumstances in our treatment and filtration process. And the role the caustic soda will play is it will adjust the pH of the water to get it exactly where it needs to be, so the aluminum sulfate can do its job as a coagulant. Again, clumping all that clay together, making it heavy enough to sink, and clearing the water from the top down. The applicator boat for this, we don't have a picture for this. I wish we did, because it arrived on the site this morning. And we are hopeful that the applicator boat will load those 2 treatment chemicals onto it and start spraying them into the water today. That should happen this afternoon if it's not already. And so by Friday, we will have an idea, at least, of how long that treatment process will take. It's just too early to say now with the temperature of the water and the current levels of turbidity, how long that will take. But we should have a pretty good idea, or we hope to have a pretty good idea on Friday. All right, so back to the map. On Monday evening, Water Resources issued a system-wide boil water notice to every customer who is served by the city of Asheville. That includes Mills River and North Fork. This was done out of an abundance of caution because now that North Fork is online, there are mixing zones, especially along those service boundaries in the map that we've shown previously, where water from the two plants can potentially mix. And so because originally North Fork was on a boil water notice and Mills River was on a boil water advisory, and those are regulatory distinctions, we decided to go ahead and issue a blanket boil water notice for everyone who is served by the city of Asheville. Now, the practical effect for customers remains exactly the same. Any water intended for consumption, drinking, cooking, brushing teeth should be boiled for at least a minute beforehand. Nothing about that changes. The water is safe for laundry, is safe for showering. You know, you don't want to swallow the water while you shower. It's safe for hand washing, with the caveat that if you're cleaning your hands for immediate food prep, after that, you probably need to wash your hands with bottled water or water that has been otherwise purified. Now, washing dishes, if you have a dishwasher with like a sanitized setting that will get that hot wash temperature up to around 170 degrees, you should be perfectly fine to wash your dishes in that. If not, we do have a lengthy FAQ posted on asheville.nc.gov/Helene. There are some sort of bleach rinse solutions that you can use if you want to err on the side of caution, you're not sure your dishwasher gets that hot, or you want to hand wash your dishes or something like that. Please visit that FAQ because it goes into great length and detail about what's acceptable as far as dishwashing. And with that, I'll turn it over to City Manager Campbell. Campbell again.
Thank you, Clay. I'm going to quickly provide just an update on water and meal distribution efforts and a few other things. And I'm going to try to go as quickly as possible so we can get to the Q&A. Community care stations. I mentioned this earlier. Today, Wednesday, October 16th, the city of Asheville opened a second community care station. And that station is located at 85 Tunnel Road in the Innsbrook Mall parking lot. Community care stations offer access to hot showers, laundry facilities, bathrooms, Wi-Fi, and charging stations. The Red Cross and Novant Health are also located at these stations. If you are able to bring your own soap, towels, and laundry detergent, please do so. Otherwise, laundry and hygiene products will be available to you at no cost. The stations are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Hot meals will be served between the hours of 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The other city location is at 980 Brevard Road, the old Kmart. Currently, I think At Home store is located there. These two stations are in addition to the Buncombe County locations at Swannanoa, Ingalls, AC Reynolds High School, and Morgan Hill Baptist Church located at 594 Barnesville Highway. Morgan Hill has medical care provided by Heart to Heart. Swannanoa Ingalls has the following vaccines available: tetanus, COVID, flu, and hepatitis A. These vaccines are available daily. A new water distribution site servicing West Asheville also opened today at the Skylines Bowling Alley parking lot located at 1477 Patton Avenue. In addition to drinking water and non-potable water for flushing, Food in the form of meals, ready to eat, MREs, will also be available. Now I'm going to turn to AVL alerts. If you haven't already done so, please sign up for AVL alerts. There is a link on the front page of the website at asheville.nc.gov. This is the easiest way to make sure you get timely notifications of services coming back online. For those seeking to receive these messages in Spanish, you can now sign up to receive AVL alerts. If you have already signed up for AVL alerts and would like to change the language you receive notices, you can take the following steps. Log into your account from the front of the city webpage, scroll down and click on My Information. Click on the drawn down bar under Language and select your preferred language. Then click Save. I believe this will prevent you from having notices duplicated in both English and Spanish. Debris removal. Debris collection across the city is underway. Residents can place their debris at the curb, but be sure not to block the roadway. Separate your debris into these categories: construction materials, appliances, electronics, vegetative debris like tree limbs, hazardous materials like motor oil, pesticides, or paint. Storm debris does not need to be bagged and can be placed in a pile. There will be multiple opportunities to have your debris collected. You do not have to have it all out at once. We also encourage residents not to attempt the cleanup process without proper protective equipment like long pants, safety glasses, gloves, and sturdy shoes are recommended. The city has been actively pursuing sites that meet the space and access requirements for debris staging and processing. Only contractors and city staff will be permitted to access these sites. As we activate these sites, we will comply with all environmental requirements. As mentioned on Monday, while 4 to 7 sites in strategic locations are being pursued, the first confirmed, and these are within the city of Asheville, and permitted sites to receive debris are city-owned properties located in West Asheville at 65 4th Street and Roger Former Park, located at 71 Deaverview Road. The city's ownership of these properties, along with their topography and accessibility, allowed them to become operational quickly. However, a third site has been permitted and will be located at the front 9 of the Asheville Municipal Golf Course in East Asheville. Site prep at the golf course is occurring today, and debris will be hauled to this location starting tomorrow. And as with the other sites, city staff will be conducting door-to-door outreach to notify impacted residents and businesses about the temporary debris sites. This process will continue as new sites are brought online. There will be a council meeting. The Asheville City Council will hold their next business meeting at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, October the 22nd. The meeting will take place in City Hall. Residents have the option to join the meeting in person or on the city's YouTube channel or on Spectrum Channel 193. In closing, I'd like to extend my continued thanks to the mayor and city council, all of our dedicated City of Asheville employees, our other partners in the county, state, and federal government, as well as our private and nonprofit partners who continue to work around the clock to help restore our community. I would now like to turn it back over to Lillian.
Thank you. Just a couple more updates before we turn to the questions. Plate covered water for City of Asheville and City of Asheville wholesale customers. Same guidelines apply still in Black Mountain. Water is to be used for flushing only. That is the town of Black Mountain, flushing only. that water, even if boiled, is not safe for consumption by people or pets. So only use that water in the town of Black Mountain for flushing toilets. Second, we got a message from Evelyn Charities that their donations, folks have been so generous, and they're unable to take physical donations at this time, but they are still distributing donations between 11 and 1. So folks can go and take advantage of what they have to offer there, but at this time, please refrain from bringing those physical donations to Evelyn. At this juncture, we will turn it over to our folks from the media who are on a separate Zoom call who may have questions. And I'm also looking at Angelica to see if there are any in the chat. None in the chat. I know we got some from Blue Ridge Public Radio.
Lillian.
Hey,
Good morning.
Charles.
Hey, I've had several questions from local residents about water billing. They just have all asked me if there'll be an initial grace period as the lines flush out, or will water billing begin immediately at resumption of service?
Plays your person for this question.
Morning, Charles.
Morning.
So the last water bills that we sent out were on September the 26th. I believe that's the day that Helene started arriving here. Right. And that was for water that customers had already used. That was our normal billing cycle. Our customers pay their water bills in arrears, meaning that they pay us after they have used the water. And so water billing will continue once service is, to use the phrase for lack of a better one, back to normal. We are working through that process now. If that means when people get non-potable water running through their pipes, or if they get potable water running through their pipes, we are working through that. But all billing procedures have stopped for right now. No late fees, no cutoffs, nothing like that, because 100% of our focus has been on getting water service back through the distribution system.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Hi, Clay. Lee at Blue Ridge Public Radio. Couple of questions about water treatment. So you talked about using these substances that you typically use. Can you give us a sense of the difference in volume? Because there's concerns about, you know, how that coagulant might be used. We say we're using it, you use it regularly, but you don't use it regularly in this amount. Is that right?
Actually, I'm not 100% sure that's accurate. I'll have to follow up with some of our operators at the treatment facilities. But yes, aluminum sulfate and caustic soda are two things that we use in our normal treatment and filtration process for the exact same purposes they're being used now. The caustic soda adjusts the water's pH level to get it to where it needs to be, so the aluminum sulfate can act as a coagulant for, you know, the sediment that's in the North Fork Reservoir under normal circumstances, which admittedly is much lower than it is right now. But let me circle back to you about the volume.
Okay. And when the water filtration is back up and running and we switch from what we have right now to that filtered, the water that's been treated and filtered, is there going to be like another outage point where you're switching the lines, or will there be continuous pressurized service throughout that time?
So I had a conversation just this morning with our North Fork operators about this, and the way that switch from the water now to the water that will run through our normal treatment process is going to work is they're going to close one valve, open another, and it should be pretty seamless. We have a clear well that can handle the interim period between the water getting from North Fork to our treatment plant, which is right next door to it. And so we don't expect any sort of service disruption while that happens.
Great. And one more water question. In Flint, part of the problem was that they put chemicals into the water lines that had not been previously used or used in that volume, and that had an effect on lead pipes. Are there any concerns about either of these treatments affecting old lead pipes?
So I don't think there's any concerns, just because we've used these. We use these two chemicals in our normal treatment processes. I will say, however, that the EPA has asked for, and we are putting together a lead testing plan again, out of an abundance of caution. And I think we've got that plan submitted to them. If we haven't, we will shortly, and it will be implemented almost immediately upon them signing off on it.
Thanks.
Hey, Clay, this is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. While we got you up there, two questions. One's kind of a two-parter, but it looks like restoration has occurred in large parts of the area. Can you put a percentage on that roughly? And then the areas that are still without, I've heard from a couple people like Town Mountain and Reynolds Mountain up high that seem to be lacking water. Are the areas that are out, are they primarily higher? So percentage of restoration, and if it's higher. And I got one other follow-up for you.
So percentage of restoration, I would put that probably between 75 and 80. I don't think it would be too inaccurate to label it as that. And yeah, you're exactly right. Higher elevation areas that are just now getting water service back, they will get it back a little after their neighbors in lower elevations do. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, the physical location of the house that it has to go to in a higher elevation. Not only that, the tank that feeds them is very likely at a higher elevation. And so we rely on pump stations to pump the water from lower elevations up to the tanks and the homes in higher elevations. And we can't just flip the switch on those because there's a lot of air in those water lines that has to be bled off. If we turn on a pump station and there's a lot of air in the water line, it'll burn it up. And those things are extremely expensive and extremely difficult to replace.
Okay, and earlier in the week, you and Ben Woody mentioned the idea of putting curtains, a type of curtains in the reservoir. Is that still a go, and when will that happen if it is a go?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up. So the in-lake treatment process that is starting, or maybe even ongoing by now at North Fork, eventually will have curtains that surround the area immediately around the intake. Now, of course, those curtains are sourced from Florida, and Florida's had a couple of things to deal with in the last couple of weeks. And so the curtains haven't arrived yet, but we have made the decision to go ahead and start treating the area immediately around the intake at North Fork, and we will move out from there. So yeah, we will have the curtains in place eventually, but we just decided not to wait on them because it could be a few days, couple of weeks before they get here. But they'll be in place at some point. Yeah.
And will the coagulants that y'all are using, is that pretty much instantaneous, or how long will that take to work?
It won't be instantaneous, and that's kind of one of the questions we're waiting to find out for ourselves. The water temperature is a little bit colder than it was when Helene hit. That'll slow down coagulation a little bit. We don't think very significantly. And so we're just as curious as you are to see how quickly this works once it starts being applied.
All right, thank you, Clint.
Hey guys, Taylor Thompson with WLOS here. I'm sure this number is fluid and changing, but as of this morning, do we have a number of how many structures have been damaged in the county from Helene? Or if we don't, is there anywhere to go to find that information?
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Lillian.
Avril is walking this way.
Good morning, Taylor. I shared with the Board of Commissioners last night that we're about 70% of our damage assessment completed throughout the county. I don't have a total, but in the different categories, we know that structures that had minor damage is about 770 structures. Those that have major damage is about 975 structures, and structures that are completely destroyed are 575. And that is both commercial and residential structures at this time. We haven't broken it out, but as we finish our what's it called, assessment? I can't think of the word, it just lost my head. Damage assessment. As we completed our damage assessment throughout our county, we would update those numbers for you.
So thanks so much, Avril.
Additional questions?
Hi, this is Riley Ober with the Citizen Times. I had an additional follow-up to the water conversation.
Hi. Pardon me.
Hi, so as a follow-up, is that percentage of restoration expected to change by the end of the day because of the work in Eastmore and Beatree areas?
It won't change likely today because of the work in Eastmore and Beetree. It will change because service areas in sort of our last two targets, North Asheville and West Asheville, that service has expanded.
Gotcha. And so for those areas that might be at higher elevation and may see non-potable water come in a little bit later than other folks, is there additional outreach being done to those areas?
We are communicating with all of our customers, and our messaging has included that water will return later to elevated areas than less elevated areas, for sure.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anything in the chat?
When can we expect to hear more from the Buncombe County Board of Elections or Elections Director Corrine Duncan?
Elections Director Corrine Duncan will be back later this week as they work to finalize the election day locations. Again, early voting starts tomorrow and goes every day of the week. So you can vote even on Sunday at any one of those 10 early voting locations, but we will bring Corrine back to give us a new update once the Board of Elections finalizes those polling day locations. I also saw a question in the social media chatter about Spectrum. They are still hoping, even with that fiber cut, they are still hoping to have restoration to the community October 19th. So soon on that full restoration, ideally. But again, with the fiber being in the ground, we are seeing a lot of cuts happening as people are working to, do repairs and start digging out. So we know that we will see more cuts, but they are hoping for October 19th for that restoration to Buncombe County.
We also have another question in the chat about, do we have any numbers on how many small businesses in the area have been impacted by Helene?
We do not have a number on that. Of course, there are a number of businesses, and we're working with our environmental services to help make sure those restaurants are getting open just as quickly as possible. And this morning, as I was driving into Asheville, it was great to see some of those restaurants having lines of people waiting to get in so that they could enjoy a nice warm meal there. So it's moving quickly.
Lillian, could I ask a point of clarification on the damaged buildings and destroyed buildings? Is that encompass the entire county and the incorporated areas, or is that strictly in Buncombe County?
It does not include the town of Black Mountain.
But everything else? Or
the city of Asheville. So just the unincorporated areas. Sorry, I'm phoning a friend on this one, John.
That's fine.
It is for the unincorporated areas of Buncombe County and not those municipalities.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good question.
Oh, Lillian, can I ask a quick follow-up to that then? In the city, do we have a number then of structures damaged?
Deborah's saying that she doesn't have that number available at this time, but they will work to get that for their Friday update when they come back.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds like we have no more questions in the chat. We will be back here again tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll be excited to have our school superintendents with us to talk about plans for reopening schools. So we will have both Dr. Jackson and Dr. Furman here with us tomorrow for that school update. And so we will look forward to seeing everyone back here again. Same time, same channel.